How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Ostino Sports Talk. I am absolutely thrilled to bring on L.A Gamo, also known as the Baseballogist. I don't even know how I was able to land this guest, but I was able to do some discovering, and I really just discovered this guy. He has an incredible Instagram page, does so much for the baseball community. I don't even know how to describe it. That's why we're going to interview him and kind of talk with him. He's going to describe it for us. He's involved in so many ways. He also has his own podcast called the Baseballogy Show. So I'm absolutely hyped to bring this guy on, and you guys are going to love this story, especially for your baseball fans out there. L.A Gamo, how you doing over there, man? Thanks for joining the show.
Dude, you're getting me hyped. I don't know why I'm getting hyped, but I appreciate it. Any way to talk about the game, talk about my mission, and also meet more people in the baseball community, I'm all about it. So I'm super stoked. Thank you so much for having me, man.
Yeah, of course. So basically, for those of you who have been listening for a while, you know how it goes. We got about an hour here today. We're going to spend about 45 minutes or so just getting this guy's story, how he fell in love with sports, of course, specifically baseball, how he broke into the industry, especially with his own brand, The Baseballogist. And then we're going to talk some baseball for about 15, 20 minutes about the trendy topics going on with the MLB right now. You guys are in for an incredible episode, but let's get right into it. Okay, so this is the first question I ask all of my guests, and first question I'm going to ask you: if you did, what sports did you kind of play growing up as a kid? You know, I don't know if you just played baseball. A lot of people played, basketball, baseball,
Yeah.
soccer, whatever it is, man. If you did, talk about the sports you played growing up as a kid, and sort of transition me into how you chose the game of baseball to be your sport.
Yeah. So I grew up in Westminster, California. I got three older brothers, and they all played pretty much everything, but baseball and basketball were the thing, right?
Mhm.
And I would say I was pretty good in basketball as well. But when I was like 12 or 13, I'm a Filipino American, and I'm only 5'9", 5'8". I was like, all right, well, I don't think basketball is gonna be a thing. And I've played baseball since I was 3 years old. So I live moved out, but this is actually my parents' house. And so I made this is the original baseballogist office, and it never changed. But this right here is one of my little league jerseys. As you can see, it's number 3. So I guess to transition to baseballs, when I was 3 years old, my mom signed me up for baseball when I was 3 years old, when you're only supposed to be 4 or 5. And because of that, I don't know why that story always like thrilled me, because I'm a believer in everything happens for a reason. And I don't know, what if she signed me up for baseball when I was 4 or 5 or 6 years old? I don't know if I would love it anymore. And so throughout my whole life, I wore the number 3 as a way of representing my mom, representing my parents. So if you notice in every picture, most pictures, I always hold up a 3. It's just it's a way of representing. I don't say this often. This podcast can be really special, but my logo right here, it's a B, but it's also a subliminal 3. So
Oh, okay.
3 is a very significant number to me, and played my whole life. Played baseball, little league, pony, all stars, high school, college, and even today I'm a full time coach as well. So, and it led to baseball just growing 3 years ago, and that's why baseball just started. There's a story behind it, but that's how it started.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's awesome stuff, and I do love the logo, but I didn't even really realize the symbolism behind it, and,
Yeah.
and now I love it even more. So
Thanks,
that
man.
kind of leads me to my next question. When was it that you realized that you wanted to not only pursue baseball, maybe as a player or a fan, but when did you realize that you wanted to base your career off of the game of baseball, whether it was what you're doing now with your brand of being, we'll get to this later, but being the first professional baseball fan,
Yeah.
whether it's playing or coaching? When was it that you realized that you wanted to pursue a career with the game of baseball?
October 2017.
Wow. Okay.
Specifically remember it.
Yep.
I've been a full-time coach since I was 19, right? So, and I love coaching. I still coach today, and it's the impact I make to kids, and for them to, for me to resonate with them, whatever age they are. And anyways, in October 2017, I just wanted to evolve the game somehow, right? And the question is, like, how do I evolve the game when I'm just an average Joe? I'm not going to make the pros. I've always wanted to become a professional baseball player, but it's like, my question is why, right? Why did I want to be a pro ball player? And it was that impact. When someone says they're a professional, all of a sudden it's like they're Superman. Like, oh my gosh, like, you're a professional. Whatever you say, whatever you do, I got to do it. These kids have to do it, right? So I remember the feeling of whenever a ball player always gave me a baseball, it was like you cherished it. So it's like, how do I do that? How do I evolve the game and build this community where I can make an impact? So I just kind of asked myself, what's the game missing? What's something I would want to watch personally, right? And it's being this figure within the game that I'm still myself. Like, my name's L.A Gamo. I'm the Baseballogist, but I'm still myself. I branded myself as, people call me Baseballogist all the time, but I'm still myself. How can I be a figure in the game by being super transparent, super genuine, and showcasing my love, my passion of the game by showcasing the ins and outs of the game, from skits to reviews to experiences to product reviews to interviews to commercials to hanging out with ball players, hanging out with figures in the game. How can I do that? And I just like thought of this idea of like being this world traveler, being this fan, super fan. I was like, I can get paid to do this. I'm a professional baseball fan, and to me it just rang, because, hey man, I couldn't be a professional ball player, but now I'm a professional baseball fan. That to me was just even more thrilling. So that's how it started. I thought baseball was missing a part where you're not only relating to the baseball fans and players, but you're also creating this whole new genre or market of fans that convert to baseball fans.
That's incredible stuff, and I think someone like you is just extremely important, especially to the game of baseball, because in my opinion, when it comes down to the raw game, you look at baseball, basketball, and football.
Yep.
My favorite sport is baseball. When it all comes down to it, when I watch a baseball game, it's just an unbeatable experience. And the thing that sucks is with the NBA and the NFL, the market is just so huge and so saturated that even baseball and even like hockey or some of those sports that are kind of on that lower tier out of the four. And for someone like you, I think it's really important to not only show people the ins and outs of baseball and to get people to love baseball, but you're also kind of gaining that publicity with baseball. And it's not just a sport you watch, but it's a sport that you play. It's a community that you are able to evolve. And I think that's really good stuff, man. And that's one of the main reasons I wanted you to hop on is I have a lot of listeners that are huge basketball, huge football fans. And I rotate my episodes between baseball, awesome, basketball, and football. And every time I have a baseball guest on, I'm like, please listen to these episodes, man. Yeah. Get into baseball, learn the baseball community and why it's so incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. So the next question I got for you. So you kind of already elaborated on it and you're kind of touching on a lot of the questions I have down the road, but I think we can get a little more deeper here. Talk about, you talked about how Baseballogy started, but talk about like how that idea came to fruition, October 2017 is when you realized you wanted to break into the baseball industry and, with your brand and stuff. But talk about how, like, maybe what happened before October 2017. How did this idea kind of come into fruition and talk about that experience about realizing that you wanted your career to literally just be about being a huge baseball fan?
That's a really good question because I never answered that. I know the answer, but I never answered. So a really good question. Is before that I was a full-time coach and I was on my way of trying to be a social media agency. Like I'm I feel like I have a good grasp in social media, how to get people's attention. And in order to do that, I guess that's where the entrepreneurial side comes in. It was like, I want to make a living by doing advertising, by doing computer stuff at home, right? And then, as I was building this agency, I was like, I'm not really having fun in it. My biggest thing is I don't care how much money anyone makes. I don't care what you do. I care that you enjoy what you do, period, right? If you're a stay-at-home mom that doesn't make money, but, you have money some other way and that you enjoy it, amen to you.
Yep.
And I wasn't happy. And to be happy is being at the ballpark. being happy is talking about baseball. Being happy is, going to different stadiums. Being happy is talking to baseball coaches in MLB that, don't get the limelight, right? That's what happiness to me. Happiness is to me, and just to travel and watch the game, right? I have a personal account on my Instagram, and I haven't changed in like 6 years, but on my bio it says I just want to travel and watch baseball. That's like that's the job. And we've read books, we've heard inspirational videos where it says, find a job that you enjoy. I'm probably butchering it, but find a job that you enjoy and you'll never work a day in your life. Something like that, right? I was like, well, baseball is my job. I want to be my job. How can I make it my job? Right. And in order to do things, whether it's a podcast or a YouTube channel or an Instagram thing, you got to find something that's different. You can't copy people. You could figure out some things that he or she did, but you can't copy people. It doesn't make you different. So I was like, what's going to make me different? So I remember that night I just started writing things. I still have the notebooks it's in my apartment. I started writing ideas, and I was like, man, and I will make a cool announcement sometime in this podcast, but I just wanted to do things that people just didn't do. I wanted to break the barrier of being an average Joe to this figure. And I guess back to your questions, I just wanted to live a lifestyle where I got paid to do it without even, without being a hassle or burden to wake up. I want to wake up every single day to play.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. I don't think money is the key to happiness. I think happiness is the key to happiness, man. It's simple as that. And I think for me, especially, I want to break into the sports industry. There's so many people that want to break into the sports industry. And I think the money is important. Obviously, you need money to live, a good life, especially, in California. California's expensive. You do need money. It's important. It's an important factor. But I think if you are passionate enough about sports and you're passionate enough about, especially what you're doing or what I'm doing, if you're passionate enough about what you're trying to pursue within the sports industry, the money will come. You know what I mean? And I think it will not only come, but as you dive into it even more throughout the years, you're going to gain more wealth, whether it's money or happiness. And I think that's the ultimate combo that everyone's looking for. And it's not just about the money, for sure.
Yes.
Let me ask you this, though. I was going to ask you before the last question I asked you. Before October 2017, you talked about how your happiness comes from the game of baseball. But going throughout like middle school, high school, was there any like doubt in your mind that you were going to, I don't know, I don't know you on that kind of level, but were you ever like, oh, I'm going to go to school to be a teacher or a doctor or a lawyer? Like, did you ever have like a backup plan outside of baseball where you were just like, oh, I might just do this because it's a safe career. It's comfortable. There's not a lot of risk to it. Do you ever have that?
I want to say yes, to be honest. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I really want to. And with interviews and podcasts, I really try not to what do you call it when you try to beat around the bush or just cookie, what's the phrase? Cookie.
Beat around the bush. That's a good one. I get what you're saying there.
But I never had doubt. And I'll give you an example. I'll give you a reason why is I don't think I've said this publicly actually. So I did high school. Then I did high school, went to community college 2 years, and then I went to a 4-year D2 to play baseball. Uh-huh. And I was studying communications, and I finished my 4th year in college, my 4th career year, or my 4th year in playing baseball, right? Yeah. So I did my 4 years and I'm done. And I had 1 more year to go for school. I dropped out.
Yeah.
I dropped out. So it's like, the reason why I say that, and I'm so confident publicly, is like, that was 2015, 2016. And it was my way of saying, I have no doubt in what I want to do. I wanted to be, there's this something I do want to share throughout my baseball, just like lifestyle and careers. I do want to showcase the entrepreneurial side of what I do. And kind of going back, what I told you is I wanted to be my own social media agency. That's being remote or from my office or from my home. I'm being paid as a consultant. I'm being paid as a labor to build your business from my own, place. I always wanted that, to spend time with family and friends, to spend time at the ballpark, and the doubt never came in because I knew the lifestyle I wanted. Like, the money never occurred to me. It was more of like, how can I make money from home? How can I make money from the ballpark? How can I make money doing what I enjoy? So I guess I only went to college to play baseball, and I already had that mentality right after high school.
Yeah,
So,
no, yeah, that's incredible. And I think especially with, my generation, I think after high school, going to community college, going to a 4 year is a very stereotypical decision that our society is deemed to make. And, that's what I'm doing as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's like you said, you decided to drop out that final year, and it's because you had no doubt in your mind that the game of baseball and just being involved with baseball is what you wanted to do. And on all levels, you're doing that. And so you go back and you don't regret making that decision at all. If anything, it made you who you are today. And I think whether you go to a 4U and you pursue an academic degree or not, I think it all comes down to the journey, in my opinion. I think you just have to enjoy the journey, and it's not really about the accolades, man, or the amount of money you're making. So I think that's a really good thing to hear for our listeners, and even if when people tune in to hear about your story, I think that's awesome stuff. All right, so I want to talk about your vision. You talk about how you strive to entertain, educate, motivate, and promote the baseball community. So let's go back to October 2017. Were these 4 goals, were they the goals that you had in mind as soon as you launched this brand, or were they some goals that you discovered as you were kind of breaking into the industry with your own brand? Like, were these, entertain, educate, motivate, promote the baseball community? Were those 4 things something you knew you were going to do with your brand, or did they kind of come along through time?
came along right away.
Nice.
I grew up watching, and nothing. I'm not downing these people. It's just an example is like, I grew up watching Domingo Ayala. Domingo Ayala is known to be this Latin baseball player, this Latin baseball god, and it's humor. Like, it's humor. And then there's like a Zach Hampel where he ball hawks.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, he's a ball hawker since he was a little kid. He's been collecting baseballs. The books he's published are, How to Catch a Baseball and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't want to be known as one thing. How about that? I don't want to say one, I don't want to be known to do skits. I don't want to be known as a ball hawker. I want to be known as just one answer. Is a professional baseball fan, to the point where if someone knows about me so much, dude, Austin, have you heard about Baseballogist? No. What does he do? I don't. He does a lot of things. He's a professional baseball fan. Like, you just got to check out his YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, I want that. I want that answer. So when I say entertain, educate, motivate, and promote the baseball community, I entertain by showcasing videos and reviews and documents and experiences and just the entertainment side for fans and non-fans for baseball. Educate. I'm a coach. I don't post a lot of educational stuff, meaning coaching stuff, because I don't want to showcase that yet. Like, I have a vision of doing a whole separate coaching side. Motivate, like this. Someone could watch me right now or watch us, not know anything about baseball, love sports, who's very entrepreneurial. Wow, that's very motivating that he did what he did to create this lifestyle of being an entrepreneur. And then entertain, educate, motivate, and promote. I'm a promotion of the game, service, products, the game itself, people, interviews, podcasts. I want to do some crazy stuff. And so entertain, educate, motivate, promote the baseball community has always been like my go-to elevator pitch that I might as well get it tatted on my forearm.
Yeah, man. I'm not gonna lie. When I was just going through Instagram, really trying to find some amazing guests to bring on, I think I came across one of your podcast videos, and I was like, oh, the Baseballogist. Probably a guy has his own podcast, interviews people within the baseball industry. That's
Yeah.
cool. And then I went and I saw the Baseballogist page. I saw your page, and I'm like, oh, he does giveaways. Oh, he does coaching. Oh, he has his
Yeah.
own podcast. Oh, he has worked with MLB players. Oh, he goes to games. Like literally exactly what you described, man. If someone went up to me and was like, "Who's the baseballologist?" I'm like, "He's just a baseball fan, man. Like he
Just
does."
go check him out, man.
Yeah. See for yourself. Yeah, man. I absolutely love it, and it was funny because obviously I did a little bit of my own research before I brought you on, just to really figure out a little bit about who you are, and it was just really fun, man. There's just like I didn't get bored. There's just so much content to look through,
I
man.
appreciate that, man.
It's really good stuff. I want to talk about some of the giveaways you do. So, giving away baseball equipment, and you give away the plate crates as well. This can make a huge impact on just aspiring baseball players, and it can sometimes kind of be the difference maker as to whether they can pursue the game of baseball at the level that they want or need. So how did you start doing these giveaways, and what kind of visual impact have you seen that these giveaways you've done can make on young players?
I don't know if I brought it to my apartment or if I left it here. It shows how significant it is. Really significant though. But when I was like 13 or 14, I met Kenny Lofton.
Ooh, okay.
Shout out to Kenny Lofton. I've never met him like afterwards, but I met him at an airport. I saw him. He was flying first class, and I was flying coach? And I was like, I'm not gonna bother him while he sits down. I'm gonna say hi to him, at the baggage claim. He was by himself, and there's like 2-3 other baseball teams in the plane, but no one wanted to approach him. And he was in the baggage claim, and I was like, now or never. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. If he tells me to go away, I'll go away. I don't care. I was like, I came up to him with a baseball, and I was like, hey, Mr. Lofton, do you mind if I get your autograph? And he's like, why do you have a baseball at airport? And I was like, I'm a baseball player, and he signs it. And I remember that he's like, you play baseball? I was like, yeah. He asked me what position I played. And just like the talk. And then I was like, hey, do you mind if I ask you a question? He's like, what? He's like, I said, how do you hit a curveball? Like, just a super simple question. How do you hit a curveball? And he started telling me, hey, look for grips, look for, movement of the forearm, look for, movement like this, look for consistency of how he throws. If he grips a fastball and then moves it for off speed, look for spin, look for rotation, stuff like this. And, again, I don't know if it's obvious information or not, but again, I'm 13, 14. That's great information,
Oh, yeah.
And I remember I was like, man, this guy's really talking to me for 20 minutes by myself. Like, that's that's crazy. And then everyone caught on and then bombarded him. And before everyone's like, asked him, I was like, hey, Mr. Lofton, I just want to say thank you so much. Anyways, I kept that baseball. It's at my apartment. I kept that baseball and I cherished it. And I remember I even brought it to a project I created in like my senior in high school. It was like an example of what inspires you. And I was like, this ball shows me the impact you can make if you have, whether an audience, whether you're a figure, whether you're a professional, whether you have a voice. You don't need to be a celebrity. You know what I mean? You could be a freaking cool podcast and then have an impact. I mean, Joe Rogan was bigger before, but he's got the #1 podcast in the world. You know what I mean? He's got influence.
Yeah.
And it showed me that you could make an impact in people's lives. And this is a really deep answer for giveaways, but
Yeah.
back to giveaways is I don't know what giving this ball is going to do to you. I don't know what giving this glove is going to do to you. I don't know what they're giving this cleats, shoes, bats are going to do to you. I don't know. But I do know that it could make an impact somehow, right? And I just want to be that professional by just giving things away and not like I don't want anything in return, but I do want to just give millions and millions away, things away, just to be, to create millions of impacts around the world. So that's the influence behind giveaways. Is you just never know what how much they needed it.
That's honestly a really good point that I've never even thought about with giveaways is, I kind of went into this question just, asking you, giving people a baseball bat or gloves or cleats. What does this do? How does it help them play baseball? But it's not really always about the object or the actual item you're giving away. It's about the meaning that item can create. And I think that's a really good point. And that's something I've never thought of. And again, man, it's just incredible to have you on. This is incredible insight. And that's an awesome answer, man. I really appreciate you telling me about that. So I kind of want to dive into your experiences with MLB players. Obviously, for some of the big listeners, huge baseball fans, they're going to really want to hear about this. I'm a huge San Francisco Giants fan, and you're a Dodger fan, if I'm correct, right?
I have to say this. Okay. I'm a baseball fan before a Dodger fan.
Okay, but if you had to choose a team, your team is Dodgers locally. Okay, so look, I don't like the Dodgers at all. I want to get into this because you've met some Dodger players. You've met Justin Turner. You've met Kike Hernandez, who's now in the Red Sox. Fernando Tatis, you said you did a commercial with him. So I just want you to talk about some of the experience you've had with these big leaguers. And I think some of these listeners are just going to love hearing that just because they know these guys, and the fact that you've had experiences with these guys can either motivate them and whatever it does for the listeners. Just tell us about those experiences that you've had with among the likes of Tatis, Justin Turner, Kike, and some other major leaguers you've interacted with.
Since you're a Giant fan, one of the cool Giant players I met Hunter Pence in spring training. That dude is how do you describe him? A professional, right?
Yeah.
Like the way he goes about, right? This is when I met him in spring training when he was a Ranger, right? Spring training of 2019. He was a Ranger. Oh, yeah. He was an All-Star, actually.
Yeah, he was. Had a great
year.
I
remember how genuine and awesome he was. And, this is what a lot of people, I hate fans that do. And they're like, oh, hey, Austin's a jerk. You know what I mean? Like, or, hey, Austin, he said no to me. Well, you're human. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you can't sign, or sometimes you can't take a picture, or sometimes you just want your space, right? You get what I'm saying? Is like,
yeah,
people are like expect you to be perfect. But I remember Hunter, going in and out of spring training or like the facility of practicing, people bombard him, and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm busy right now. Like I'm working. Like I'm at work right now. I got to go hit. Can we just hold off on the pictures and signatures to like the end when I'm done, done?" And again, someone could take that as like, oh, he's a jerk. You know what I mean? Like, but for me, I'm like, that's a very professional answer because you're being nice, you're being honest, you're being transparent, and you're still giving your time. They don't have to give us their time. They don't have to. And he just took on all the people after that and did signatures and stuff. And I was like, that's really cool. So shout out to Hunter Pence. Chase Darno. Chase Darno was a Giant in 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
His video went viral when he copied Cueto's sauna video. 2018 Giants. Like that, right? And then Chase Darno and Pablo Sandoval made fun of him, and it went viral.
Yeah.
Anyways, Chase Darno and I are really good friends. Actually, you're really good friends. And I was just at his house. I was at his house this past Sunday, and it's cool to get insight on professional information, right? Like I even asked him a question because I do hitting lessons. I'm a hitting coach. I'm a coach. I said, Chase, you're 6'4", and your stance was you stood tall. Like he stood tall. And I said, how do you catch up to 90 plus when they're in a stretch plus a slide step? So people, you obviously know what I mean by that, but what I mean is it's basically you don't have time. It's quick. It's not quick pitch, but it's quicker of a pitch, right? Yeah. And you just gave me a valid answer, and I was like, that is awesome. You know what I mean? Like, that's cool to have that insight, right? So yeah, shout out to Chase Arnaud. I met with Kike Hernandez last year. I did a box opening with Adidas Tops box opening, and we actually did a video, him and I opening it, right? It was us opening for the first time and our reaction. It was really cool. Justin Turner, same thing. I met them together. What I did for them on camera for Kike Hernandez, what I did for him is we did a box opening. Let me see if I can find it here. For the cleats and the shoes. For Justin Turner, I interviewed him from behind the cameras while feeding him ground balls and stuff. And so the interview was him taking ground balls and hitting while me asking him questions. Is pretty rad. And then Kike Hernandez, because he's a utility infield outfield. There's shots of him in this commercial where he's receiving the ball, or so he's running and catching a ball, kind of like Willie Mays way, and he caught it, turned around and threw it. So I'm the one who threw it for him to catch it, and then I'm the one who threw it at him to relay it. So I was kind of feeding him, and then I got to hit them. I got to throw them front toss. So Justin Turner, I grew up watching, and to really see that perspective, like, oh my gosh, and I was like, Justin, where do you want it? Middle in? Because I'm good at front toss. I was like, where do you want it? He's like, no, just get me in. I was like, no, this is awesome,
Yeah.
I got to ask Kike Hernandez questions as an interview, literally standing 3-4 feet away from him as he's taking front toss. I was like, this is amazing. Like, I watch you do this professionally, and now I get to see you do it right in front of me. It was cool. And then to top it all off, this is one of many stories, but this is probably one of my coolest stories, is Fernando Tatis. Fernando Tatis, I threw him front toss, and I even have video of me throwing front toss, like this right here.
Oh, wow.
Right. Like,
yeah,
I don't
wow.
know what volume is that. Like, that's cool to see. And then at the end, they're like, hey, we need to do the money shot of the ending to the commercial, which is, it showed Aaron Judge, it showed, Trey Turner, showed Kike, Justin, everyone in Adidas family. Then since Tatis was the latest Adidas member, they wanted him to hit a bomb around 6 p.m., meaning like sundown, but then the lights are on. So that's why it was a perfect time. So they needed a home run shot, and they edited it to where that ball hit the lights. So they needed a home run swing, but they edited the ball to hit the lights. Mm-hmm. And they're like, hey, we need someone to throw live to Tatis, and with no L screen from the mound. I was like, who's like, I'm going to do it. And I didn't question anyone, but I was just nervous because throwing batting practice to a professional, like some people have no sweat, but throwing to a professional, let alone Tatis, it was nerve wracking. Long story short, I got it in 5 pitches, and it was a bomb. It was an absolute bomb. And then we had fun. We had a good time. So Tatis was a good guy. Where's a picture? But yeah, here's Tatis and I.
Awesome.
At the Adidas shoot.
Awesome. Nice.
And just that's one of many. I mean, Matt Davison, he's now with the Dodgers. I met him. We had a hitting lesson instructional video. So there's a lot, man. It's definitely a blessing to be in that position,
Yeah. What position did you play when you played baseball? Were you a pitcher? Were you a fielder? Or what position were you?
I was a middle infielder. I played shortstop and second base, and then my last 2 years in college, I played left field. I was a leadoff hitter. Batted leadoff my whole life, and so I was a pretty quick guy.
Yeah, random question, man. We just never really got to that when you were talking about your playing days with baseball. So we got 10-ish more minutes to talk about you before we get into some baseball talk. I still have a lot to talk about, so I'm going to do my absolute best to get through as much as possible for the listeners. Let's talk about your skits for a brief amount of time. You have a bunch of skits on one of your highlighted stories on Instagram. They were hilarious. I was watching a few of them. There's probably like what 50 on just the highlighted stories you
Yeah.
have. How did you come up with some of those ideas? Do you just go throughout your day-to-day life with baseball and then you just get that light bulb idea and you're like, bam, let's get that camera out, let's just record? And like, how did those skits come about?
Skits are based off whether past events or things I see, just watching it, and even being a coach. Like I see it, I know what it is to be a player. I know what it is to be a coach. I know what it is to be a fan. I know what I just know every single side. And you're right. Like, I mean, I'm about to pull up my phone, and all I do is I write. I write all day, and I'm trying to find the ideas. I have an idea section, but yeah, I'll show you my Trello. So if I see things, I'll just write them all down.
Okay.
I'll just write them all down.
Yeah.
I mean, that goes on, and it's influenced by that. It's influenced by things to where it could be really funny to 90% of people, or it could be really funny to like 10% of baseball players.
Yeah.
But I like that because it's like only baseball players will get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, like I had a cool account, shot the, I think baseball, forgot what the account is. Oh, the Baseballer. They have like over 500,000 followers. They reposted one of my videos where the tag is that feeling when you find a plastic ball in the bucket. And it sounds, yes, I mean, I assume you get that, but people who don't get that are like, what the hell? What the hell is like? Yeah. Well, how is that funny? And it's just the downer of finding a plastic ball in a bucket. You're like, dude, this needs to go, and you try to throw it away, and it somehow comes back. So it's just writing ideas that I find are relatable, funny, unique, different, and then also relatable to what the culture is today. Like skits, like Tim Anderson, his bat flip last year, I copied it, and I got him to like it and stuff. I did Javier Baez tag. He loved it. Anthony Rizzo reposted on his story. Like it's just cool,
Yeah, those are really cool, and I think you bring up a good point. And I played baseball literally for 1 year, and I smashed my ankle into second base trying to slide in, and never went back to baseball. But obviously, I am a huge baseball fan, so I think those skits are funny, man. Like you said, they relate to a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. You're not really looking to have skits for just one general audience. Some skits are gonna hit more. Some people are gonna like some skits more than others, and I think that's a good thing, man. So before we get into some baseball talk, I kind of want to somewhat wrap up this conversation talking about your podcast that you have called the Baseballogy Show. It looks like you have 14 episodes up, and you have someone else that you do the podcast with, and you had your first guest on recently. Talk about what influenced you to start podcasting and how that experience has been for you.
So podcast started during COVID, and it was a project of mine, and I've I guess neglected it. I'll be honest, and neglected it. But I'm not. I guess I could end the whole Baseballogist thing. When I talk about what's to come. But the reason why I started Baseballogy Show is how can I make content by just being at home? And no lie, 14 episodes later, I've been downloaded in over 50 countries. Incredible. And it's incredible. And again, like, shout out to the baseball community who have followed me and stuff like that. I will be coming out more with more bangers and more guests to come. It was just a way to connect through my office, and it'll pick back up. I'm really excited for it. But yeah, it was a way of just connecting from my own home.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. That's kind of what I had my own podcast with a friend of mine called The Rivalry Diary, and we started that, probably huge LA fan, so Dodger fan, Laker fan, I'm a Kings fan, Giants fan, so that's kind of how we came up with the name. Yeah. It ended up falling through just because we had conflicting schedules, and we were trying to record like 3 times a week, and it just wasn't really working out, and so we stopped doing that. I took a couple months off, and I'm like, I really enjoy just like asking questions and just talking sports. Like, how can
Yeah.
I do something still with quarantine, with COVID still going on? Keeping that positive mindset and just having something to look forward to. And so I started Ostino Sports Talk, and very similar to you, man. I know a lot of people who have just broke into the podcast industry through COVID, man. That might be,
Yeah.
it's incredible. So you kind of were talking about it. This is kind of the last main question I want to ask you before I kind of have you tell the listeners how to follow your journey via social media and all that. So with COVID still around, or just in general, what are some of the ways, what are some of the big plans that you have for the Baseballogist brand? How do you plan on staying involved in the baseball community through COVID, whether it's through MLB, coaching, giveaways, whatever you're doing, man? What's the short term / long term plan for your brand?
I'm going all out on YouTube.
All right.
I'm going all out on YouTube to showcase you guys more longer form content of what I do, right? Like, for example, I'll give you an example is I have videos of me throwing front toss to Fernando Tatis. However, I'm sure people would have loved if I recorded that whole day hanging out with Fernando Tatis. I have videos of me, doing interview or to, showing, receiving balls from third base or receiving balls from first base from Justin Turner. I'm pretty sure people want to see longer form content. So I'm going to come out with some really cool inside perspective of my experience of being a professional baseball fan. It's on YouTube, youtube.com/the Baseballogist. I'm going to say it here. I know YouTube is a crazy platform. I only have 5,000 subscribers because I haven't really went hard on it. But my goal for this year is about 50,000 subscribers because that's how hard I'm going to go.
Nice.
And then on podcasts, I'm gonna, my goal is to do at least once a week, whether it's myself on it by myself talking about topics or with a whole bunch of guests. And then TikTok is just like my miscellaneous things where I like to screw around, be a little more, not a little childish, but be a little more not non-professional, just miscellaneous is the word. Just just random questions, random videos where it's more just miscellaneous and kind of like not as thought of. But a lot to come this year. 2020 really hit me hard because I had trips ready, dialed in, and then I couldn't adjust, and it should be crazy this year.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Again, real shortly, I'm going to have you basically shout out all of your social media and everything you bring to the table. Kind of have another quick question based off of everything you're saying. I know you have a huge Instagram following. You have your own Twitter account. You're going to try and get a huge following on YouTube. I have a lot of listeners that, like me, are trying to grow a social media page, are trying to advertise their brand, or trying to be a young entrepreneur. I have a 15-year-old kid that's running an NFL page, and he's doing really good stuff like that, man. What's some quick advice you have to grow a sports brand via social media, whether it's Instagram or YouTube? Specifically Instagram, man. You got around 72K. It's incredible.
Right. Think of 3 to 5 people or pages or brands that you admire. Write them all down, and in bullet points, I like these guys. Boom, boom, boom. I like that. The next top or next brand. Write down what you love. Write down what you love. Write down what you love. Take all those things that you love, and morph it into your own, and make your stuff. Nice. People try to copy what Sports Center is. People try to copy Joe Rogan and how he does this. People try to copy this. If you copy them, they're just gonna be like, oh, he's just like them. Oh, he's just copying them. Mm-hmm. And my biggest thing is, what do you want to watch? How can you be different? And how can you enjoy doing that? That's it. What do you want to see? What do you want to see? How can you be different? And what the last part. Yeah. How can you be different? What do you want to see? And do you enjoy doing it? Because there's gonna be so many times you're gonna fail. You suck. This is terrible. But if you enjoy it, it's like, well, that's me. That's me.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. it's funny because for me, shout out to Odie Strahan, host of Straight Talk with Strahan. He was kind of the person that introduced me to a similar thought process that you just told the listeners. And he basically always talks about find someone that does what you want to do and have them show you how they do it. And it's kind of, you don't want to copy them like you're saying, but you're able to kind of pick and choose different things from a general aspect of what you want to do, and you implement it and you make your own thing. And I think that's really important. And that's awesome, man. So last thing I'm going to do before we get into some MLB talk, do everything you can, man. I want you to tell the listeners every way they can get involved with the Baseballogist brand. I know you got your social media pages, you have your podcast, you have your merch, you have your hats and stuff. And I from what I saw, I think you're going to be introducing some more merch in the future.
Yeah.
How we can, hashtag community is a hashtag you use a lot. How can we get involved with your brand, man? And how can we help you impact the baseball community?
Oh man, I appreciate that. First off, I'll start with my social media. Instagram is Baseballogist, BASEBALLOGIST. So just Baseballogist. YouTube, youtube.com/the Baseballogist. TikTok.com/the Baseballogist. For podcast, it's the Baseballogy Show. The website isn't out yet, but you guys heard it here first. It'll be called thebaseballogist.com. And
Awesome.
My hashtag is community with a baseball as the O. And the way to support me is if you guys love baseball, if you guys don't love baseball, please find a way to support me by subscribing or following, because the baseball is such a passion of mine, whether you love it or not. I just want to put a baseball in a person's hand and change their lives, whether it's for humor and entertainment, education, motivation. I just want to change lives using a baseball. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, preach that. Okay, so that is going to kind of wrap up you telling your side of the story. We're going to get into some awesome baseball talk before we wrap up this episode.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I immense thank you to you, man, for just, first of all, for getting back to me and deciding to join me on this podcast. I'm very new. I don't have a lot of credibility, but that's what I'm trying to do with every episode. I'm trying to get more and more recognition and, more credibility for people that want to hop on. And I just really appreciate you coming on here and not only sharing your individual success and your individual success within the sports industry, but just really sharing your love for baseball. And basically your job is to be a professional baseball fan and to just evolve and exponentially grow the baseball community. And I love everything you're about. I think the listeners will too. And best of luck to you in your journey, and continue to grow it, man. It's really good stuff.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you for sure. All right, let's get into some baseball talk, and we'll just dive right into it. So we got about 10-15 minutes here. I want to start with the Dodgers. You are, from that LA area. The Dodgers are your team if you had to choose one, coming off of a World Series win against the Rays. I didn't like to see that. That was really heartbreaking to see as a Giants fan, but I know a lot of Dodger fans and made them very, very happy.
Yes.
I went on this rant when they got Trevor Bauer, and I'm like, okay, look, the Dodgers have by far the best team on paper. It's not even close. And I understand baseball is a really hard sport to just they're going to win because they have a super team. A lot of factors that play into a team winning a World Series. But what are your expectations for the Dodgers, man, in the next, let's say, 5 years? How many rings do you expect them to win? Like, what kind of success do you imagine the Dodgers being able to, kind of have in the next 3 to 5 years?
It's hard to really say they're going to get this many rings because we could think of so many super teams that have happened and won no rings. You know what I mean? And baseball is so awesome of a sport where just because you're the best team doesn't mean you're going to win it, right? Yeah. Unlike basketball, if you're LeBron James and with the Heat, you could call 1 to 7 rings and only win two rings? Yeah, 2 rings. Yeah, 2 rings with the Miami Heat.
Yeah, the Heat.
Yeah. And with baseball, it's like, for me, it's setting up the opportunity, right? Let's talk about the Padres a couple years ago. I think 2015, 2016, when they got Matt Kemp. They had the Upton brothers. You remember that one? They were the dream team.
Yeah.
They were the dream team. Nothing happened, right? Yep. the Dodgers to me are they do it well. You know what I mean? They've had great players. They didn't need to sign, especially pitchers. Like say, like Brandon Morrow in 2016 or 2017, 2018. They didn't need to resign him. Cubs resigned him. They had Kuroda, Cy Young candidate. They let him go.
Yeah.
To me, that was your not Kuroda, wasn't it? Oh, Kayeda. He went to the Twins. Kenta
Maeda. Yeah. I was like, yeah.
Kenta Maeda. That dude killed it with the Twins.
Yeah.
He killed it in 2018 as a bullpen reliever. It's like, how do you guys not resign that? They had Hungjum Ryu.
Yep.
Another Cy Young finalist last year or 2 years ago. He went to the Blue Jays. He got his money. It's like, why are they doing things so right? And it's not overpaying. That's why the whole Mookie Betts thing and the whole Trevor Bauer thing is so different to me, because I'm not used to that. But they know how to get rid of people in the right time. Kike Hernandez, one of my favorite players, Dodger. It's like he's worth $14 million for 2 years with the Red Sox. Do Dodgers want to pay that $14 million, or be like, hey man, Kike, go get your money? We got a guy named Gavin Lux right behind you. You know what I mean? It's like he's a rookie. Jock Peterson, you're good, but go get your money with the Cubs, because we have we have AJ Pollock. We have a guy named Peters, right? DJ Peters. I think his name is Peters, right behind you. They just know how to develop them. And look at the Dodgers. Justin Turner, Chris Taylor, Max Muncy. Those are players that were kind of nobodies.
Yeah, they were.
And they made somebodies. Right. So back to my thing is they know how to set up the foundation. They whatever move they make, I'm like, I agree with it.
Yeah.
So moving forward is, if they're in great position for the next 3 to 5, 6 years, that means they're doing it well. They're managing their money. They're letting go of money. They're managing money, letting go of money. Where they're doing it well. They don't need to go all out for 1 year.
Yeah, for sure. And as much as I hate to see it, you bring up a great point. They're just a very well-rounded organization, man. Like you said, these nobodies are literally turning into not only somebodies, but literally the next stars of our league, man. Like Corey Seager. I mean, Jesus Christ. Like, yeah. They're starting from the ground up. Their farm system's incredible. Trevor Bauer is about to be the third pitcher in that rotation, arguably the best pitcher in baseball. Like, they have everything going for them right now. I'm not gonna lie, it would be fun to see them not win the World Series this year, just because I know the expectations are so high, man. But we'll see what happens there. I want to get your quick thoughts on the universal DH and expanded playoffs. We're not gonna have it this time around. What are your thoughts on having a universal DH? Do you like seeing pitchers hit bombs? I know I do. I'm a huge Madison Bumgarner fan. Big home run hitter. What are your thoughts on the universal DH and having expanded playoffs?
So they're not doing universal DH this year, right?
No, they're not doing either or, I believe.
Yeah. So I liked universal DH last year just because it's new. It was new to the game. Mm-hmm. But to be honest, it's good for the game, meaning for people who don't like baseball, because you have an opportunity to see, just like good hitters hit. You know what I mean? That's 3 to 4, 5 at bats in a game where, like, that could be a home run. For the game, for a baseball fan like myself, I love when pitchers hit. Yeah. Because it's not again, you're a Giant fan, so Bumgarner, he's an amazing hitter, but I want to see what they do when, it's the 6th inning, it's a 2-1 ball game, 2 outs, first, second, and third. Your pitcher is throwing a gem, 2 outs. Do you leave him in?
So much strategy.
Hit,
yeah.
Or do you take him out and put a hitter to maybe get the lead? It's strategy. It's baseball. It's chess to me. And as a coach, I'm like, wow, good call. Oh, bad call. I love that. That's why I personally love watching NL more, because of those scenarios. It's like it's a game within the game. As a coach, and when I get props saying, hey, good call, I'm like, yeah, because that's a coach coaching. But when you're I don't want to down AL coaches, but you're not making crazy moves. You're not. It's just, do I take the pitcher out or no? Oh, should I put a pinch hitter for this guy who's struggling or no? But for NL, there's double switches, there's pinch hitters, there's all that stuff. So I'm not a fan of DH for the love of the game and extended playoffs. I just think 2020 was such a unique and different year, and that's why it happened. And I'm not for it. I like the structure, the normal structure.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think what you're talking about when, 2-1 ball game, runner on second and third, 2 outs, you have the pitcher in,
throwing a gem.
Yeah. And it sounds very cliche, but I think that's what makes baseball. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like those just hardcore, like you said, it's like chess, those decisions that a manager has to make. You see basketball and football, they basically do everything they can. They want more scoring. They want more offense. But in baseball, I talk about those with baseball fans all the time. It's like we want to see a pitcher's duel. We want to see like a 0-0 ball game going into the bottom of the ninth, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I really love that your take on that. Next topic I want to fly through is Mike Trout. I saw this interesting statistic about Albert Pujols in his prime and Mike Trout in his prime. Albert Pujols in I think it was like from 2001 to 2011, his years with the Cardinals in comparison to Trout's years from 11 to 2020. Pujols has a better batting average, more home runs, more RBIs, better OPS, and more wins above replacement. And I thought that was very eye-popping. I know obviously Mike Trout's a much better fielder. He's a lot faster, a lot more dynamic. But what are your thoughts on Mike Trout? And, obviously he hasn't won a ring, doesn't have much playoff experience. A lot of people think he's not only the best player in our generation, but one of the best players of all time. Maybe you don't have to name your baseball GOAT, but what are your thoughts on just Mike Trout's legacy being affected by no playoff runs, no World Series? How does that impact a player's legacy with baseball?
So it's like, these comparisons, right? Like Mike Trout's better, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Mike Trout's
100%.
better.
Yep.
But I don't know the number or the stat, what is like, why is Albert's numbers better? But I can tell you Albert has been playing in better teams, like meaning better support. If he hits 3, he's got 1 or 2 in front of him. If he hits 4, he's got 3 people in front of him.
Yeah.
It's just like he had better opportunities, right? He had more opportunities to do damage, right? Mike Trout is a one-man team. Yeah. Like Angels will lose, 5-1, and Mike Trout goes 3 for 3 with a bomb. Like it's just like
it's hard, man. Hard to watch.
And that's I'm not too much of a stat guy as a fan. I just love watching the game as is. But it really is diminishing to see this GOAT, this legend, this Hall of Famer as we watch not make the playoffs. Like I really hate when they say there's this meme, Jake Arrieta and Mike Trout have the same amount of home runs in the playoffs. Like I hate seeing that.
That's you know what I
mean? Because you know what I mean? Like it's
it's
stupid, but it's not. It's true.
It's our generation is though. That's how sports fans are these days and ages. So
and it's like, imagine LeBron James, right? LeBron James was expected to be the GOAT or expected to be this amazing player. Has he lived up to it? Of course he has. You know what I mean? Because he was expected. But for Mike Trout, he wasn't expected to be that great. But when he came out in 2011, we're like, 2012, 13, it's like, all right, let's build around this kid. And he's not even close. You know what I mean? Like he's not even close to being that playoff team. He's not even close to being let alone a World Series team. It sucks. It does suck. I lived in Orange County. Angels were like my first love. Angels and Outfield is my favorite movie. It sucks to see that.
Yeah, man, I definitely agree. Obviously, Mike Trout's a better player, but like you said, we're very glued on, especially with like the infield shifts. It's a right-handed hitter. Let's put four infielders on the right side of second base. All of the statistics and analytics are just very they're taking over not only baseball, just like everything. So I think you bring up a good point there. And, obviously it's not Mike Trout's fault. He can only bat, one out of every 9 times. You know what I mean? Like there's 9 players in the batting, when you look at a basketball team, if you're LeBron James, you can have the ball whenever you want. Mike Trout can't go up and swing whenever he wants. You know what I mean? He has to wait for his turn. And it sucks to see. I think you bring up a really good point there. Kind of want to talk about some young players that you kind of see popping off this year, whether they are already in the majors or maybe they're in spring training right now and they're, playing AA, single A ball. So some upcoming prospects. Give me like, I don't know, 1 to 3 names. Who do you see really popping off this year?
Ooh, that's a good question. I see what's his name, Gore from the Padres. You know who that is?
Yeah.
What's his name, Gore? Yeah, everyone's gonna know his name in a bit, or later this year or next year. Mackenzie Gore. That's a dude to look forward to.
Yeah.
With the Padres, that second baseman, I think I'm sorry, either Japanese or Korean. That second baseman that they signed, I heard that dude is amazing.
Yeah.
I honestly think Walker Buehler hasn't really showcased how much of a stud he is. Walker Buehler with the Dodgers, I could see him as a Cy Young winner, whether the next couple of years. Dustin May is someone that I think has nasty stuff. I think he's just like maybe a slider away of being unstoppable and a with a good changeup. He's got 98 two-seamer. That's gonna be ridiculous. I know the number one prospect for the Rays. I'm sorry, the number one prospect in the league is with the Rays. That dude on his first pitch hit a bomb a couple of days ago. It's exciting to see these names pop up, right? I mean, Tatis, think about it. Like everyone knows who Tatis was. He barely came out in 2019. Yeah. 2020 was his year. And then he now is considered a superstar. Like that's amazing to me. And that's still a player I still can't wait to see. That dude hasn't even shown anything yet, in my opinion.
Literally, yeah.
So it's and let alone he had a contending team last year, but let alone an even more contending team this year. We'll be seeing a lot of them, being San Francisco and LA fans. Baseball is on its way. People, it's on its way to being even more great. With his young talent, people are getting stronger. People are getting faster. People, faster on the bump. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really fun to see people like Tatis. Like when he broke into the league, he was, one of the best prospects. Oh, he's on the Padres. Oh, this guy's going to be incredible. His expectations were so high, and it's really fun to see those players actually meet the expectations. People like LeBron James, they're like, he's going to be the next GOAT, and, debatably, he now is. And so it's just really interesting and fun to see because there's so many players that have high expectations, and whether it's injuries or not enough opportunities, they just fall through. And it's like, man, that guy had a terrible baseball career, but that's not really ever true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's just fun to see them live up to the hype. And, like you said, Tatis literally is already in the MVP conversation, and he hasn't even hit his not even close to his ceiling, and
not even close. Not even close.
It's good stuff, man. All right, I kind of want you to go through some teams that you see being sleeper World Series contenders. Which teams do you think are going to surprise people this year, and name a team or two that you think are going to disappoint?
Ooh, I see the White Sox making some noise.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
I see the Mets making noise and Toronto Blue Jays making noise. And, I say those 3 teams because you didn't see those teams in the top last year, and they got way better. And I'm not going to name Padres or Dodgers or Yankees because it's, it's already given. But those 3 right there, Mets look on paper scary. And that's a different way of saying it, but they – to me, I try to look at all around. I got to see their bullpen first because I think bullpen is like, if not the secret weapon to winning World Series. Julio Urias, last year with the Dodgers, he went 6-0, I believe 6-0 or 3-0, 6 in one of those in the playoffs last year, and he closed up the NLCS and he closed up the World Series. It's like, So it's I think one of those teams are gonna make some noise.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously the Blue Jays have really just stepped up their game in the free agency. They've brought in a lot of good guys. Vladdy Jr., George Springer's there now. That team is electric. It really is. And I
Yeah.
think they're going to be fun to watch. Obviously, they're in a division with the Yankees and the Rays, who are both good teams. So that's going to be a tough division. It's going to be a fun division to watch. Same with the NL
Yep.
West. And really I think there's just so many good teams this year that are either going to basically either beat the expectations or they're going to disappoint. I think it's a really big year for the Astros. I really do. I think this is a make or break year for not only the Astros, but just the legacy they've had over the past few years. It's like, they got a ring in the World Series. They made the World Series, and all the cheating scandals, and most of us baseball fans are like, wow, the Astros are cheaters. They don't deserve it. And that's how it should be. And, Jose Altuve struggled last year, and the Astros did struggle a pretty decent amount last year, in the regular season. And so I think it's just going to be interesting to see if the Astros are going to live up to their hype, because a lot of Astros players are like, don't doubt it. Carlos Correa, they're like, we're still the team. Alex Bregman, we're still the team to beat, and it's going to be interesting this year. All right, man. A couple more minutes here. I know you got to go. Give me your MVP pick for this year.
Oh, that's tough. I mean, MVP
you don't got to think about too much.
I mean, it's hard not to say Tatis, to be honest, with that support. My Trout is always hard to say because, again, like, you'd want to at least say, oh, there's me runners on for him to, bang him in and stuff like this. I'm going to go Tatis. Mookie Betts could be one. Oh, my gosh. I'm going to go Tatis.
Yeah.
And AL. I feel like I'm going to slap myself if I don't say Mike Trout, because that's like a given. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I gotta go Trout.
Yeah.
I'd feel bad if I don't say Trout.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's good stuff. For the NL, I'm gonna go Mookie Betts. I feel like it's funny, man. Oh my god, I actually like Mookie Betts, even though he's on the Dodgers. I really respect Mookie Betts.
He's a gamer.
Dude is how tall is Mookie Betts? Do you know? I'm not even sure if you know.
I mean, on paper, I think it says he's 5'11",
5'11",
5'10", but I honestly think he's like 5'8", 5'9".
Yeah,
I think he's 5'9".
Let's go with 5'9". This dude is 5'9". Went, on the Red Sox, beat the Dodgers in the World Series, went to L.A. and gave the Dodgers their first ring since 1988. Like, Mookie Betts' legacy is through the roof right now. Like, it's incredible. I got Mookie Betts for the NL. For the AL, I'm going to go with a bit of a dark horse surprising pick, just because I like to mix up my picks a little bit. I'm going to go Gary Sanchez.
Oh.
I'm going to go Gary Sanchez. That dude, okay, first off, catcher, obviously, one of the most important, if not the most important position.
Okay.
I just feel like I think the Yankees are going to represent the American League in the World Series, and we'll get to our World Series picks to wrap it up. But I have Gary Sanchez. I think he's gonna. He struggled with with his batting average last year. He's got a lot of pop. I think he can increase his defense and his arm from behind the plate. That's my sleeper pick. I got Gary Sanchez. Obvious picks are Mike Trout and.
All right. Since it's obvious pick, I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna go DJ. LeMahieu.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's mine right there.
I love it. That's awesome. All right. Let's get our World Series picks out there. I'll go first. I have the Dodgers coming out of the National League, and I have the Yankees coming out of the American League. That's my pick. I think it's finally time that the Yankees pull through and get to a World Series. And I know a lot of MLB fans every year before spring training, before the regular season, Dodgers-Yankees will be the World Series. Dodgers-Yankees, Dodgers-Yankees. And I think it's going to happen eventually. I do. And I think I'm going to go with it this year. And I don't know. This is going to be biased, but I'm going to go Yankees in like 7. I'm just gonna say Yankees in 7. I can't say Dodgers. It's hard.
You know,
Go for it, man.
I hate to sound boring, but I'm going to say the same thing. And
Go for
it's
it.
something that I do. I mean, it's Dodgers Yankees, right? It's something that people want to watch, and it's hard to say it's not going to happen because they're the top teams in ALNO, you know, arguably top teams, right? That'd be awesome. That's what everyone wants. LA, New York, LA, Dodgers, New York, you know, from New York. That's it. And I still think Dodgers are a way better team than Yankees. Like way better, like bullpen wise and starting pitching wise. But you don't know what's gonna happen in baseball, you know?
You never do, yeah. Awesome, man. So you got the Dodgers winning it this year. Not a surprising one. I would not like to see that, but yeah. All right. I'm just gonna ask one quick question, and I swear we're done.
No worries, man.
What are you most looking forward to with the upcoming MLB season? Obviously, we had a 60-game year last season. We're gonna have a full season. How do you think COVID's gonna like shut it down eventually, like with everything going on, their vaccines out? I don't really know, man. Just give me your quick thought on what you're most looking forward to watching this time around.
My answer is if this happens first.
Okay.
If fans are allowed.
Okay.
I'm excited and most looking forward to the energy, the interaction, the energy that these fans will do, whether your team is sucking or not.
Yep.
And really enjoying that and not taking that for granted. I can't wait to hear the noise. I can't wait to hear, you know, what the field, you know, on the people who do like the scoreboards, how they hype up the crowd. I can't wait to see what they do to, you know, they're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have noise now. Let's make them yell more. Let's make them chant more. Let's do more roll calls. Like I just can't wait for the noise. You know, me being a professional baseball fan is I want to be there. You know, we're from Los Angeles, and we don't even know California is going to open up for MLB. So that's what I can't wait for. And it's something that we never said growing up. We always said, oh, I can't wait for a big year by this player. I can't wait for. Who would have thought the feeling of actually being in a ballpark, eating ballpark food, you know, watching a game, hearing the sounds, smelling the smells. That's what I can't wait forward to.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. Awesome way to wrap up your talk for the episode. I'm gonna go with I'm just gonna steal it, man. That's probably not what I would have said if I went first, but I know the Giants are trying to get fans in there this year. Oracle Park is doing its best to, you know, get some limited capacity in there. And the thing I love about baseball the most is a lot of people say it's a boring sport. It's definitely not, but a lot, you know, 90% of the game, it's just a pitcher throwing a ball to the hitter. Sometimes it's a ball, sometimes it's a strike, sometimes they'll hit it, and most of the time it's an out. And it doesn't matter how much offensive action there is in a game. The fans are glued to the game, right? And when something happens, when a home run is hit, when someone steals a base, when someone, you know, I don't know, steals home base, just anything action-packed that happens in baseball just absolutely erupts a stadium. And I think that is just the best part is when you hit a walk-off home run, and it's one of the best feelings ever being a fan at that game. All right, man. I know we probably went about 10, 15 minutes over that hour you asked for. I'm going to wrap it up with that. For everyone who is listening, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for hearing this episode, hearing Baseballogist's story. It's incredible. Please, he already shouted out everything you can to possibly follow his journey and to support his journey. For Austino Sports Talk, I'm on Instagram at AustinoSportsTalk. Really trying to grow the Instagram for now. Please go check that out. I do an Instagram live every Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Please tune into that. Join the live. Ask some questions. I have daily polls on my story every day. Going to start posting some polls via feed every day as well. A lot of content to tune in. We got an episode coming out every week for the podcast, and it's just really good stuff. Twitter is at AustinoSports. And please, I'm on every major podcast streaming platform, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, whatever you can listen to a podcast on. I'm on every single one. And lastly, if you want to listen to the video version of this, please go to Ostino Sports Talk on YouTube. If you want to see that face-to-face interaction and our reactions to our conversation, I know a lot of you guys love that. So check me out on YouTube at Ostino Sports Talk. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Baseballogist, I'll let you kind of send yourself away as well. And I'll shoot it over to you, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for the listeners. I appreciate it. For the love of the game of baseball, for the love of the game of, or for the love of sports. It's awesome to kind of just meet people all around the world and talk baseball, talk sports, and just, learn from each other. So, continue to get 1% better and continue to grind, baby.
Let's do it, man. We're all excited for the baseball season. You guys have a great rest of your day, and peace out, everybody.